Hi there, students. We're going to look at verbs about reading a text. To dip into, to wade through, to look up, to flip through, and to scan. Okay, so if you have a book, you could dip into the book and you could read one or two chapters, but not all of it. Okay, so you're dipping into it. You're taking a little bit at a time, but not all of it. You don't read every single bit. If you wade through it, this means it's very long and there is lots and lots and lots of it. Or perhaps it's really complicated and really difficult to read. If you wade across a river, you go in it, but it doesn't cover you above your head. You can walk through it, to wade through water. But if you have to wade through a text, it's really difficult and complicated. You could go to a text to look something up. This text is now a reference, and you want to find a piece of information that you know is there, that's part of the database, if you like, that makes up the text. You look something up in a dictionary. You could flip through it. For me, this is more like looking at the pictures of a magazine. Maybe you flip through a book before you decide if you're going to buy it. Yeah, you're just turning the pages and not necessarily even one by one. Yeah, to flip through is to look at very superficially. And then you could scan your text. So to scan is to read quickly, but not thoroughly, to identify the pieces that interest you, the pieces that are relevant to you. And then you could dip into it and read the bits that you really want to find out. Okay, you don't have to wade through the whole text. You just scan it quickly and then you could dip into it. If it had an index, you could look up and find what page or what section, the bit that interests you. And maybe you flip through it to start with, just to find out if it's interesting or not, if it might have details for you. So maybe you flip through a book and decide, yeah, this looks like it's got interesting bits. And then you scan it to find where the interesting bits are. Or you could go to the index to look up where the interesting bits are. And then you could dip into it in the places where the bits that are relevant for you could be found. And like that, you don't have to wade through every single word. Okay, what about formality? Let's see. Dip into is really quite informal. To wade through, again, informal. Yeah, I think, so what about formal versions of this? To dip into, to select choice pieces, a much more formal way of saying it. To wade through, to read all of, although it's boring. To look up, this is probably neutral formality, and I think you could use this informally and formally. I know it's a phrasal verb, but it's so commonly used, I think life would be difficult without it. And to flip through, again, this is informal. Maybe you'd say to look at superficially, if you like. Yeah? And then to scan, I think scan is a neutral word. You could use it both informally and in a formal setting. Okay, let's see. Some of these are phrasal verbs, or most of them are phrasal verbs. So notice you dip into it. Inseparable. I dipped into the book. I dipped into it. I waded through the book. I waded through it. Again, inseparable. And inseparable phrasal verbs are quite unusual. You look something up. You look an item up in a book. Look it up. Separable. And you flip through a book. You flip through it. Again, inseparable. Okay, notice these are all regular verbs. Dip, dipped, dipped, double P. Wade, waded, waded. Look, looked, looked. Flip, flipped, flipped. Scan, scanned, double N, scanned. Okay, so there you go. Next time you look at a book, you can think about which verb is appropriate to what you're doing. So anyway, enough. If you enjoyed the video, give it a rating, subscribe to my channel, and I'll see you soon. Bye for now. Dip into, wade through, look up, flip through, and scan. Bye for now.